Ghana is not new to ideas and initiatives that are meant to create jobs for the youth and to ensure that they are empowered for the job market. But more often than not, these ideas and initiatives fall short and implementation of them becomes problematic. Well, the government, in its latest budget, that's the 2026 budget presented by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atuforsun, just a number of days ago, is promising to create some 800,000 jobs after it decided to inject some 110 million Ghana cedis into the 24-hour economy, amongst other things that the government believes would help create that stable environment for young people who are looking for jobs and survival sometimes. My name is Beatrice Adu. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Agenda. And tonight we want to delve into the aspect of the Finance Minister's presentation, which is looking into jobs and whether or not these ambitious provisions, as it were, could be achieved and whether they give hope really to young people in this country. I do have on the panel with me Mr. Peter Norte Kotoi. He's the MP for No Chukotre. Yes, he's the Member of Parliament for Akachi North, also member of the Employment, Labour Relations and Pensions Committee. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Good
evening.
Of course, we also do have as well with us Mr. Bernard Ejay. Okay, he'll be joining us very shortly, but we do have with us Theophilus Teria, who is a tax expert. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And of course, I do have on my extreme left, Eyram Totime, who speaks for the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment Relations. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you as well for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
and there is no relations added to the ministry. It's now Ministry of Labour, Jobs and
Wonderful.
Employment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to start with you, Honourable Nochukotoi. Really, just to get your preliminary or general thoughts on the ambitious, budget presented to us, 800,000 jobs and the $110 million Ghana cedis put into the 24-hour economy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Beatrice. Hope I'm right.
Yes, Beatrice,
Good.
yes.
Yeah, it has been a while.
Yes.
Yes, the Minister for Finance, Honorable Dr. Atuforsun, presented a budget, as you said, last week. It's a very pragmatic budget that he presented, outlining government policies and programs for 2026. And looking at it very critically, I see it as a budget that is aimed at resolving unemployment challenges that we are facing in the country. He mentioned that it is envisaged that there will be 800,000 jobs opportunities next year. And there are various ways by which this will be achieved. And I hope as we go along, we will look at them critically.
Indeed. Let me get your thought as well, Mr. Teria, because there are some, including KPMG, that describe this budget as one that you would say the Finance Minister was cautious, even being optimistic.
Well, thank you, Beatrice. I would say that it is not an ambitious budget, but a moderate budget, in the sense that we've had a history where government promise every year to create jobs for the youth. As to whether those targets are being achieved or not. So it's too early to say that these have been attained. It's too early to say that these are ambitious because we've seen a number of programs that have been introduced. We've seen a million job being promised, but at the end of the day, we don't see any results. So for me, when we get into the nitty-gritty, we will look at the
800,000, you don't think it's too much within 12 months? Which is why some people think that it is ambitious.
We will look at that when we get there.
Okay, I'm coming to you, Mr. Totime. You're with the ministry, obviously working with agencies that will implement this. From where you sit, you think that you're equipped, for instance, enough to be able to implement some of these things that the government has presented to us?
Yes, this is possible. It can happen. Government is creating the enabling environment such that the private sector, which is the engine of growth, can also support this agenda in creating jobs and enabling environment for businesses to thrive. And so it is possible.
It is possible. I mean, give us specifically what you intend to do in collaborating with other agencies that make you think that really what has been giving us is possible?
Well, I mean, government, like I mentioned earlier, is there to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. You know, the private sector is the engine of growth. And when government is able to consolidate its gains, fiscal policies are well introduced, and inflation is down. Currently, we have a single inflation. When all these consolidations are made, it helps eventually for other entities like the private sector, the small and medium scale enterprises to also come up and then create job avenues for the teeming youth to also get a good standard of living.
I'm coming back to you, Mr. Nochukotoy, because you're part of the Committee of Employment in Parliament. When some of these things, of course, today there was the debate of the budget on the floor of the House today. Your committee specifically, what issues have you taken up that you believe you can work on to ensure that you're holding the executive accountable towards the implementation of these ideas given to us?
Yeah, as a committee, we have an oversight responsibility. The sector budget will come before us. We're going to scrutinize it. But what we need to understand is that when we talk of employment, it's not the Ministry of Employment and Jobs alone. There are other ministries and other sectors within the economy that contribute to employment. So we are going to look at the policy. Is it the 24-hour economy and accelerated development? How much is being allocated, 100 million Ghana cedis? How is it being utilized? We will be monitoring that and then get reports as the year unfolds. So we have a responsibility to oversight. And we will also make sure that the figures that they give us, how are we achieving the targets? So that is solely what we are going to do. So when you look at the job, as I said earlier, there are various sectors. So take, for instance, the big push is dealing mainly with roads and health and a few other areas. If you go to, or if you go around the country now, you see a number of roads being undertaken. Let me take my constituency, for instance. It has opened an avenue for employment, and many youth are now working on these roads. And it's going to take about 2 years, and they will be in employment. So it is also happening in other places. So if you look at how many opportunities or job opportunities the big push is going to create, alone can tell you that it is possible to achieve the 800,000.
How many job opportunities do you know?
No, I've just given you one example as the big push.
Yes, and the big push, for instance, yes. How many do you know?
I cannot give you any figure now because the process is ongoing. More projects will be enrolled this year. If you look at the Accra-Kumasi Road project that will take place, you can imagine how many workers are going to be engaged. So it's an opportunity. But I strongly believe that we can achieve that target if all that the minister outlined in the budget are put into
Do I hear you say indirectly that as a committee, you're very comfortable and okay with what has been presented to you by the executive?
Yeah, we are comfortable, and we know that the minister was cautious in whatever he presented, and we can hold him accountable to it, and it is deliverable.
Let me ask you this before I go to Mr. Teria. You talk about roads and what projects and kind of employment people would get under the big push. After the roads are constructed, what's next?
Oh, you see, development is not an event. You see, it's a process. So once one area is completed, another unfolds. So it's going to be a cycle over the years. Yes, unless we are saying that our development needs will end by 2028, which is not possible. Do you see? So development is a process, and it will be generating employment avenues here and there as the years go by.
Mr. Teria, if you look at the budget the finance minister presented to us, these areas of employment, he put them under IT, industry, infrastructure, among others. How realistic do you see that?
So let's look at what the minister had mentioned for the 800,000. The first one is stemming from the big push, which is going to create 490,000 jobs. We also looking at developing national policy on integrated oil palm from 2026 to 2032, and that is expected to create 250,000 jobs, direct and indirect jobs. Then they talked about agenda to transform industrial transformation in the Bruno Central Region and Eastern Region area, and that is also seeking to create 20,000 jobs, and TVET and all that, and oil palm development, which is seeking to create around 250,000 jobs. These jobs that is being churned out, I mean, is being planned to achieve by the ministry, are jobs that are related to short-term projects. So road construction projects runs for probably 12 months or probably 24 months or 36 months. So it is not as though the job creation will be intended for 1 year. Some of them might probably run from 2025 to 2032. At the end of the day, we need to look at the profile of our youth. What youth
The profile
of our youth.
Okay.
You have university people, you have people who are skilled people. I'm not sure we have a database of our youth, the population of our youth, as to what kind of job they are looking for. So when you look at this 800,000 job that we are talking about, road construction, they are jobs that are indirect. Indirect means that it's not stemming from the government directly. At the end of the day, when you juxtapose this against previous programs, we'll come back probably in 2029 and saying that where are the jobs? You know, so we need
But
to.
is it not because people are being trained wrongly?
I wouldn't say that, because the youth has different needs. A lot of people have graduated from university. They don't have jobs. They have first class, they have second class, they have probably second lower, and they have no job. But these kind of jobs that we are looking for are jobs that are probably not related to a tertiary education. So my thinking is that we need to look at industrial transformation. How do we build sustainable job creation, which the youth of this country, everyone can have a piece of the cake to benefit? Because we've had several programs. We have GIDA, we've had NAPCO, we've had NYE programs, and we are back to square one.
So these are some of the areas the finance minister mentioned: private sector recruitment, public sector expansion, infrastructure development, which we are talking about under the big push and the rest, digital and vocational skills programs. You do not think that the current youth who are ready for the job market would fit into any of these areas?
It will fit a segment of the youth. It's not going to fit, a blanket, because the youth is not just everyone who is into artisan. If you look at the profile of economy, we have a lot of universities, we have a lot of polytechnics, and TVET started somewhere 2 years or 3 years ago, where government invested a lot of infrastructure across the country. So that is going to only satisfy a handful of the youth. But the vast majority of the youth are not in employment. And I think that as a country, we need to have a conversation about the database. We don't have a national database on the number of unemployment in the country, who are in active jobs. And I think that probably we'll come back in 3 or 4 years and we'll say, where are the jobs?
Mr. Nochukoto, let me get your quick reaction to what he said before I come back to Totime.
Yeah, I think if you look at the situation as we have it now, there could be some data, but not comprehensive enough. You can tell about how many teachers have been trained and yet to be employed. You can talk about how many nurses have been trained and yet to be employed, or doctors who have been trained. Yeah, that one you can get the numbers. But those who do other courses which are not professional in nature, varied courses, yeah, it's difficult to know how many they are and how many job opportunities are there for them now. Do you see it? Yeah, but when you look at what is going to happen, if you talk about, let's say, the big push, there are engineers. And I remember very well when the president, His Excellency, was launching the big push in Ho, he mentioned that those contractors who have been given jobs should employ local technicians or engineers.
So that's just one aspect of it. There are so many, and I think the point he's making is that there are a lot of people who have been trained from the universities. They are not necessarily interested in road construction.
Yeah,
they have other, just a second, they have other desires of being in other aspects of the economy, in health, in law, business, all of that. So if you're concentrating only on big push, then what about them? How do you get them employed?
No, I think I just mentioned that we have maybe some engineers who are unemployed. So they can go to road construction or other construction companies for employment when the jobs are there. And I said earlier also that we have a number of teachers who have been trained who must also be employed. And if you read the budget very well, the Minister for Finance pledged that, or promised that there's going to be about some 40,000 opportunities for the Ghana Education Service to employ next year.
Including the building of 200 schools at the GHS and all of that.
Yes. Yeah, so but we're talking about those who are going to be employed, especially the professionals, you say, who are going to be given permanent jobs. And as you said, some of the jobs are not permanent. It will just expand over a period of time, and then it will roll over or get on with another employment. So as he said, yes, we need that data on who are unemployed, various categories of graduates that we have.
So how do you go ahead and push out initiatives when you can't even tell the categories of individuals who need certain employment in certain areas?
No, we know them, so that we don't have the numbers. How many, probably, let me say, political science graduates are in the system who are looking for employment? How many ICT engineers are in the system who are looking for employment? That is what I think he's saying, that we don't have. And I think it is true. So we should cautiously look at that and have that data for future references.
We've had government representatives tell us that everything that is done is based on data. So would you confidently say that these 800,000 jobs that the government, the finance minister proposed, perhaps there has been data to prove that we're going to get, let's say, 400,000 from here, 300,000 from here, 100,000 from here, that you're sure at the end of the day you're still going to meet, at least deal with the unemployment situation?
Well, the minister did not mention that. He just
no,
said
I'm just asking, based on data.
Jobs. Yeah, but what we are trying to say is, you see, there are various types of jobs that are available under the various government initiatives. So if we sit here now and then fix that this is the number that will, out of the 800, will be engineers, will be teachers, will be doctors, will be artisans, we may not get it correct.
So how are we going to, and I'm asking you that because you said that you're comfortable with what the finance minister presented and you've seen the document yourself. Do you have an idea, the breakdown of how you're going to ensure that you get these 800,000 people jobs?
Yeah, if you looked at the budget again, he mentioned areas.
Which I just mentioned.
Yes, you see, so if it is 150,000 in ICT, that means he has a program, or he has envisaged that there will be around that number who are looking for jobs. So that's why he has made that allocation. The 250,000 in oil palm plantation, what categories of workers are there? Are they going to be casual laborers? Do you see it? They may not need technical knowledge in engineering, so far. So they are people who maybe will be employed, either permanent or temporary, on the farms. That is what we're trying to say. So it is varied. We cannot fix any number now that these are going to be professionals, these are going to be so and so. It will be difficult to do that.
The question I asked was whether or not there was data to support the kind of programs that are already out to know that, okay, in Ghana we've trained, let's say, lawyers, business people, entrepreneurs. And so these programs that we've brought out, we are going to still be able to absorb these people from these areas. There's data, you're confident?
So I earlier said that it will be difficult to point out that these 800,000, these are the categories of workers that are going to be employed. You see, so it's an estimate he has made that we believe that 1,000 jobs will be available in various categories. So which categories are they? I think when the programs are rolled out, we'll be able to know at the end of the day.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Terrier, but I want to get an update, for instance. I remember when the government talked about working abroad initiative, I had your boss, the Honorable Rashid Pepo, in studio asking him about how they were going to implement that. It's been some months now, at least we are in the 11th month. Can you tell us progress? How many people, for instance, have been able to benefit from that initiative?
Well, I would say that quite a number of Ghanaian youth have benefited from the youth employment program on the work abroad.
How many?
I may not give specifics for now, but I can say that over hundreds of youth found in different skills have been able to get themselves employed. One area under this project or initiative that has been quite challenging has been those who have certain expertise that are needed in some of these countries that are coming up, especially those from the Gulf states and other parts of Europe. Quite recently, in Dubai, they needed about 100 mechanical engineers. And so they rolled out this request and we advertised. But it will surprise you to know that it's only about 30 people who were able to get the whole of the country for them to take up this offer. And so these opportunities keep coming day in and out. Now, we all know that in Europe, they are having an aging population, whilst in Africa, and most especially in Ghana here, we have a youthful population. So the demand for Ghanaian youth to take up some of these opportunities in abroad are coming up much more higher day in and out. And it is expected that through this TVET initiative and other training programs that are there, those that are DPs, development partners, are also supporting us with, like through the Ghana European Center, the GIZ, and the rest, we will be able to train up many of these teeming youth who can equally take up this initiative to go and work and then come up with some returns.
So you're saying that you're not able to give me statistics as regards how many Ghanaian youth have benefited from this work abroad?
Initially, the Youth Employment Authority
yes,
was
I'm not done
under
with
the
the
ministry.
question. Please, I'm not done with the question. Are you able to tell us which areas, medical, law, which one? Are you able to tell us, even if you can't give us the numbers as regards how many of our youth have been able to get that opportunity?
Well, some of the areas that they have shown interest in, like I mentioned earlier,
have already benefited, like they are working in those areas, if you can tell us.
Yes, truck driving, mechanical engineering, and then construction. These are the key areas that have come up. And
who are working abroad in these areas?
Yes, that the Youth Employment Agency, through this model, have been able to take some Ghanaian youth to work abroad.
But how different, how unique is that? Truck driving, people can be in this country and do that?
Well, these are initiatives that are coming from other states. And then we have youths who are capable of also venturing into it. If it so happened that there are no many institutions or organizations that needs their services, but they have been trained in such areas, why not? If the offer comes, they are supposed to take it and then go and work and make ends meet.
I want to come back to you, Mr. Terrier, because the government has made it clear that it needs private sector participation. Even in the areas mentioned by the finance minister that I read to us, it was clear that indeed the government is looking for it, for that collaboration. But sometimes we hear entrepreneurs, business owners and all of that complaining that the business environment is not that good. Even our tax regimes, you're a tax expert. Are you able to tell us really how you think the government can look at this to make it's a reality in terms of the private sector partnering with the government to create jobs for the teeming youth?
All right, thank you, Beatrice. You need to look at our trajectory as a state, okay? The state cannot create jobs for people. The state attempts to employ a lot of people through the civil service, public sector, and that is not sustainable. So employment should be private sector driven. It should not be government driven. If you look at the 800,000 jobs that we are talking about here, it is investment that the government is making in certain programs that is creating direct and indirect jobs. The business environment that we find ourselves here is quite unfriendly, structural-wise, how the economy is structured.
People say that, but tell us why.
Yes, so let's look at a typical manufacturing company importing raw materials and someone buying or sourcing goods from outside the country. You will find that sometimes it makes more business sense to import from outside the country than to manufacture. It makes more business sense to import than to produce the goods here because the raw materials are quite expensive, the electricity cost is quite expensive, road networks are terrible. If you come from my village, for example, it is terrible. The cost of finance to even ramp up your business, you have an interest about 25%. So the cost of capital, even to rack up your business, is quite expensive. So it makes it difficult for businesses to thrive. And it's about time we have an honest conversation on how government can make a conscious effort to support certain sectors. And we can do that by making sure that businesses can have access to finance to make their business easier. We've had tax incentives given to multinational companies coming here to run businesses. The focus has not necessarily been on Ghanaian-led businesses. We have moved towards local content participation, which is to support Ghanaians to do certain businesses. But we have not consciously promoted Ghanaian businesses. And if we do that, it will help the businesses to be more stable and create jobs which are sustainable.
But I thought over the months and even a couple of years, we've heard governments say that buy made in Ghana goods, eat Ghana. At least there's been that conscious effort. You don't think it's been strong enough?
That's more like a cliche. I don't think that it's a lip service because the structural issues are more endemic than just saying buy made in Ghana goods, because the made in Ghana goods sometimes are more expensive than to buy raw material from outside. So I know the government has a textile agenda in the back, which is very good. We have to move towards industrialization as a state. You don't industrialize, you're going to be outcompeted in the world.
But we saw one district, one factory. We don't seem to have seen the end of it. How, and I'm asking that question because people say that whatever initiatives are started, when you continue, then you're able to ensure we're saving money. How does the government make use of that, for instance, to create businesses to deal with this problem you talk about?
For me, I think the one district, one factory was a good innovation, except that it may have its own lapses. I was expecting that the government would probably repackage it and make a conscious to promote certain industries across. They could give it a new name and tweak the lapses that the other one had and drive innovation. Because look, if you don't industrialize as a country, I'm afraid we will be out of business. We'll come back and be talking about the dollar being at an S rate. We'll come back and say cost of capital is this. We're going to have issues. So we should make a conscious effort to promote. Take Galamsey site, for example. If we go to a place like Pristia, for example, we have Sankofa, which produces the waste products that the mining companies cannot. If this is replicated across certain Galamsey areas, the youth will have sustainable jobs.
When you say waste products, what exactly do they do out of the mining stuff done?
The mining machine is not able to process all the ore. So there's a waste that other people process to get gold. So if that is replicated across all the Galamsey site, for example, you're going to create sustainable job for the youth. If you set up factories in certain, let's say, Badaso or Bogoso or whatever, you're going to create jobs which are sustainable, because road construction is a piecemeal. I mean, in those kind of work are piecemeal, and I don't think that the youth of this country can gamble their life with just piecemeal job. You know, we need to drive job creation that would make them be willing to stay in this country.
We need to create jobs that will make them willing to stay in this country. When we come back, we'll look at the work environment and what the government intends to do about it, and really moving forward, what to do to ensure that we cut the unemployment rate. Do stay with us. And you're still here on Agenda on TV3. My name is Beatrice Adu. Tonight we're talking about jobs and what was promised by the Finance Minister in his presentation just a number of days ago for the teeming youth. And I do have on the panel with me Mr. Peter Nochukoto, who is Member of Parliament for Akachi North. He's also a member of the Employment Committee of Parliament. I do have with us Theophilus Teria, a tax expert, and as well as Aram Totime, who speaks... At UPSA, okay.
From UPSA.
From UPSA, it's good to add that. Okay, and then Mr. Aram Totime, who speaks for the Ministry of Employment. I want to come back to you, Honorable Nochukote, but there are some messages I want to read to you. Some of them are questions. Good evening. Jobs, jobs, jobs. As promised during campaign, 1 job, 3 shift has since not shifted. Robbery cases are on the increase on the Bogosu-Pristia Road. What is the government doing? Regards to Lawyer Terrier, and there's also greetings from the good people of the Pristia-Huni Valley constituency to Lawyer Terrier. Okay, you're getting a lot of shout-outs. You're a true son of the area. There's also, I'll read one more coming through, and then I'll come back to you, Honorable Nochukote, regarding statements that are coming in. Okay. Good evening, Madam Beatrice. Please, we the graduate of unposted environmental health officers and assistants are still at home since 2021, and we fall under local government. We also need clearance. If you can address perhaps this, although he's specified that he's under local government, if you can address a bit of that and some of the concerns raised by Mr. Terrier before we went on that break.
Well, thank you. The 1 job, 3 shifts.
He said it hasn't shifted yet.
You see, we need to put some structures in place. I can tell you for sure that Ghana Publishing Company has started the 3 shift or the 24-hour economy. Even the budget, they printed the budget for us. The budget we are dealing with now. Yeah, they printed everything beautifully. So it is taking place, except that people were expecting it to start in a very grand style, but I think it cannot be so. But I can assure them we are putting the structures in place. There are a lot of things that must be put in place before the 24-hour can take effective.
But people had already said that you cannot implement fully a 24-hour economy when you don't have the structures in place, like industries and the jobs needed for people to run.
That's why if you look at the government agenda, is to make sure that the enabling environment is created for the industries, especially the private sector. They are going to drive the 24-hour economy.
So can you tell us what enabling environment is being created right now? Because that's an issue Mr. Terrier raised.
Yeah, you see, we need to look at a number of things, like even security. How do you provide security for those who are going to work in the night? And that's why these recruitments into the security services are going to take place. We need more who can show visibility throughout the cities or wherever we have this 24-hour economy activity.
But that is done every year until recently was suspended, which is why you had that crowd.
Yes, yeah, the number this year, I think that will be employed this or recruited is going to be higher than the previous years, because we need more of the security officers across the country. Yeah, so coming to the job environment, let me say as a committee, a few weeks ago, we decided to tour a number of industries in the country. I wouldn't mention any companies, but what we realized was that companies owned by individuals or companies, other than that of local or Ghanaian state-owned enterprises, are doing far better than state-owned. And even the environment within which they operate. So after the tour, we sat down and said, look, what is happening? And we saw that it is management. If you put good management in place, you can favorably compete with foreign-based companies. And I think that is one thing that the committee is still looking at. The workers at the state-owned enterprises complain more than those owned even by foreigners, where we thought that they were just exploiting them. If you look at their levels of income, it's better than that of state-owned enterprises. Because so they are poaching them.
Because you are generally not paying well.
That is why I said that they are poaching them, because assuming there's a technician in a state-owned enterprise, very intelligent. The foreign-based company we'll just go and look for him and poach him to them. And we discovered some of these things.
Is there anything...
we are recommending to the Minister for Employment that, in fact, we have to look at what is happening to state-owned enterprises. If we allow them to just be operating as they are, they will not even be making profits.
Aside from state-owned enterprises that you're talking about, is there any conscious effort from the government and for you as a committee to recommend that people are paid well in this country? Because that's why you have a lot of people going out of the country. They spend so many hours, and at the end of the day, their salaries cannot even take care of them.
Yes, we as a committee, in fact, we met management and workers, and we listened to them, comparing even their income levels at either public sector or private sector. We look at their levels of income, and we're going to make recommendations to government as to how to do anything positive about it for those in the industries that are state-owned.
Prince Nanaya Oyok says, good evening, Beatrice, and I want to read that before I come to you, Mr. Toteme, and to your panelists. The modernization of agriculture by supporting young farmers with subsidized mechanization, irrigation, storage facilities, and direct access to markets through programs will create millions of dignified jobs along the agricultural value chain, and it says the government should implement aggressive industrialization policies to add value to our raw produce and expand industries such as food processing and manufacturing in targeted farming areas for local consumption and export. Mr. Toteme, you were talking to me about the statistics so far in the Work Abroad program.
Yes. So about 40,000 Ghanaian youth have already benefited from the Work Abroad program.
In which areas?
I did mention the mechanical engineers in construction, in truck driving. These are the key ones that have come up so far.
And Mr. Teria, the Statistical Service in its release in July this year mentioned that unemployment rate had reduced from 13.3% to 13.1%, of course, marginally, but it said that joblessness was still very high. And one of the things it also found was the mismatch in skills, what people were being trained for and what was available on the job market. How do you expect the government to deal with this, just so we're able to create a balance?
Well, all borders on data. As a country, we cannot be cherry picking on what kind of job we want to create. I know government has priority sectors, and similarly, there should be some synchronization between the government and the universities. If you go to our universities, a lot of humanity courses are very common. We are not investing in skill training at the university. When you go outside the country, you will find that even a mere college has more proper infrastructure than even our universities. So we need to invest in a way that we can create people who can be the future of skills that we can even export to other regions or even across the world. So until we do that, we will have a mismatch of skills needed for the state. Because when you look at the employment spectrum, service industry or service sector is the majority. Whereas you would also have informal sector also being a main driver of employment in the country. So when you take this data compared to what we are producing at university, the humanity courses are feeding into the service sector. So until we begin to industrialize and say that we want to have manufacturing companies, we need more engineers, we need more artisans who are probably trained at the university. Plumbing work, it doesn't mean because you want to do a plumbing work, you need to necessarily go be an SS graduate. You can have people who are plumbers who are doing high-level plumbing for businesses and making money. So we need to make a conscious effort and prioritize the sectors and the skills that we need. Otherwise, we will not be able to compete with other nations as well.
Let me ask you briefly about the 110 million Ghana cedis being injected into the 24-hour economy. Do you think it's enough to ensure that people are able to work?
I think it's a decent start. The 24-hour economy is a good policy, and you cannot run a country where by 4 p.m. the country is shut. 4 years ago, when I was driving, I go to Shashi. By 4 o'clock, the whole country shut. Whereas your competitors are running a 24 shift. GDP will be 3 times what we are producing. So it's a very good initiative. It's just that the policy has not been probably thought through. We need a blueprint of the 24-hour economy. The government cannot drive that alone. You need to create an environment where there's a cycle, okay? Let's take this country. We don't produce a white shirt.
We don't produce what?
White shirts. White shirt that we wear. We don't produce it. We import them. So we need to industrialize in the sense that the basic thing that we need as a country, we get it here. If we are doing smoke with our hands, we can do smoke in batches so that we can be able to even export some. But until we do that, we will not be able to get anywhere. It's a very good initiative, but when you listen to politicians, particularly from the NDC, you see that there's a different understanding of it.
Well, how do you mean by that, and particularly the NDC?
24-hour economy means that your country is running 24, like around the clock. So if I have, like Accra Mall, for example, Accra Mall might be shut by 12 a.m., sorry, by maybe 9 p.m., but behind the scene, people are stocking up the mall. Trucks are bringing delivery to the place. So you have to make a conscious effort to structure the economy in the way that the value chain keeps on running on the wheel.
Do you see that happening?
I think that we can do it. But the enabling environment should be created, and incentives should be given to businesses. You can't have services running necessarily 24 hours. Banks run 24 hours, our ATMs are working, it's always been happening. But it is the retail shops, it is the warehouses, warehousing, it is a logistic business. Trucks should be able to be running from Accra to Kumasi. The road should be very busy. It's all part of the 24 hours.
How do you respond to that, Mr. Nochukote?
Yeah, I think it's all about what we have said so far. The 24-hour economy, as you said, is a cycle.
So he's saying there should be structures.
That must begin from 0 hour to 24 hour. Do you see it? So every business must be running at 24 hours. So even if they are running shifts, then those shifts must be structured from hour 1 to hour 8. What business would the first shift be doing? Then second shift, what would they be doing? The third shift, what would they be doing?
Is this something that your committee, for instance, has thought about and recommended?
No, I think the recommendations are there already. So it's not for the committee to make those recommendations. I know a company in this country now. What they are doing is the first 2 shifts, they do the manufacturing or the printing. Then the third shift repairs or greases the machines and make them ready for the next shift to take over. Yeah, so as he was saying, yes, behind the scenes, something must be happening. So that is the structure. And what we need to just say is that just to incentivize the business organizers or the business entities to make sure that they take advantage of what opportunities are there.
What kind of incentives do you know are currently available being given out?
Well, there are tax incentives that if you roll on to the 24-hour economy, tax exemptions will be given to you in some areas. You may even pay for less power, or you pay less for power, and other things that will be needed to make sure that you are in business. So the opportunities are there for businesses to take advantage and then make sure that the 24-hour economy runs.
There's a direct comment for you from Tahidu Gurundo. He says, good evening, Madam Beatrice and your panelists. The NDC seems to be an angel, but they are snakes under green grass. These jobs that are promised are abstract, perception and non-tangible. The NDC promises in their campaign that they are going to restore automatic posting for nurses, teachers and other professionals. How come they project this year as a year of jobs and there is no single employment for nurses? Meanwhile, next will be their second year in government, so they should stop deceiving. Okay, so how do you respond to this? And he goes on to talk about the 800,000 jobs. He doesn't seem to believe that.
Well, I think the employment of workers or trained teachers and nurses. Yes, before we left office in 2017 or 2016, any year that we rolled out teachers and nurses, we made sure that they were employed. But it changed. Now we are about to do same. With regards to even teachers, we want to abolish the teacher licensure examination and incorporate it into the curriculum so that by the time you complete your College of Education, you must have even finished taking your examination. Now, we have a backlog of such teachers who are going to be, those for 2023, they are waiting posting, 2024 are waiting posting, then now 2025, another group. And we have an average of about 12,000 each year.
What's the plan to absorb them?
Oh, I just said that the minister said that he has approved the clearance for those teachers to be recruited. But I don't know for other ministries like local government. So, I don't know for them now.
So yeah. I was asking about other areas because that's for teachers. I was asking about the nurses.
That's a number
area,
of people. So I'm more concerned about that area.
Yes, a number of, because you were actually on the education committee earlier. A number of people are asking about nurses. Yes. Yeah. Mm. So that's why I'm asking you. That's for teachers. What about the other areas?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For as far as I know, I've made sure that I look at that of education. So those other committees like health, local government, they will also be interested in their areas.
There's one more question for you before I come back to you, gentlemen. Nana Kwesi Bodia says, kindly ask Honorable Nochu how much they budgeted for the sanitary part as against their flagship 24-hour economy.
Oh, there is an allocation for it. I am very sure, except that I cannot say it off head, but it's not less than 100 million Ghana cedis. Yeah.
Let me ask you perhaps your final word, but if you could kind of channel it around the decision of the government to inject some 30 billion cedis into strategic infrastructure development in power, route and digital connectivity, and how you believe that could help in diversifying the economy and creating jobs eventually.
I think it's a very good initiative. If the government is able to partner private sector to invest in energy, ICT, it will lend itself to job creation. It will have a multiplier effect on the economy in terms of purchasing power. And so I think it's a very good step. It points to the fact that the government alone cannot create jobs. It should be private sector driven. We should have monitoring agencies of employment. If we really want to be serious about our employment data, then we should pass law to allow even private sector to notify a state agency as to the number of people that they have employed in a particular year, so that we can have a database also as to what is happening in the economy.
Let me get your final word, Mr. Totime.
Yes, so on the issue of the recruitment of the teachers, nurses are also included. The Deputy Minister of Finance has been heard saying that they are going to recruit the nurses. Like you rightly asked, the injection of this huge amount by the government is going to help. Currently, government has an interest in supporting the Women's Bank with over 401 million Ghana cedis. This is going to help create opportunity for women to go into businesses. And by so doing, they are also going to contribute towards the growth of the economy. Likewise, the film industry. Government is injecting about 20 million, and it is also going to help. Industries like Kuma Wood that are going down and so on are all going to be revamped. So in a way or the other, it's creating job opportunities.
Let me read this and I'll get your 30-second final word, Honorable Nochu Kotoi. Nana Kofi says, Beatrice, thank you for continually bringing national issues to light on agenda. I would like to draw your attention to the situation of many casual workers in our health facilities who have served for over 20 years. These workers have dedicated their lives and supporting the healthcare system, and yet many still remain unregulated and without job security they deserve. I kindly suggest that this issue be highlighted on your program. Okay, so I don't know whether you have anything to tell him, and of course your final word in about 30 seconds.
Well, this is a piece of information that I think we need to interrogate. to have a casual laborer for 20 years, I think it's not the best. So I will inform the chairman of the committee that I've been on this program. This is what came up. I think we'll interrogate it and see how best we can help. Because so that we can even talk with the health committee to take up the matter. Yeah, but I think, let me just say that Ghanaians should have hope in the budget that has been presented by by the finance minister, because I feel it that there's a change coming, and if we all put our heads together, I think we will achieve more than even the budget has given us. And I think the prospects are very high for the country.
The prospects are very high for the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Nochu-Kochari, Member of Parliament for Akachi North, and also member of the Employment, Labour Relations and Pensions Committee. Thank you for joining us on Agenda. To you as well, Mr. Theophilo Steri, a tax expert, a lawyer as well, and to you, Mr. Iram Totime, who speaks for the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment. Thank you as well for joining us. Well, that's it for Agenda here on TV3. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us as well and for sending in your contributions and questions. Join us again next week. Have a good evening.